I wonder if like 20, 30 years from now, more people will know Arnold Palmer for the drink than
Probably.
the golfer like Jimmy Dean.
I mean, we may already be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy Dean, like nobody remembers he was like one of the top country stars in America for a long time. They're like, no, he's the guy that made sausages,
Yeah.
right?
We call that getting Shirley Templed.
I'm Arizona Family political editor Dennis Welch,
Dennis, fake news Welch. Try to tell the truth.
and this is the Politics Unplugged podcast.
Dennis, if you have a problem with substance abuse, I am more than willing to talk to you anytime you need.
And welcome back to another edition of Politics Unplugged, the podcast. I'm, as always, joined with Colin Stanton, the great producer extraordinaire. And, it's been another just crazy, hectic week.
It has.
I am, fired up. I'm ready to go. I've got my new can of cold Arnold Palmer here.
Nice.
We are going to go through some of these primary results and try to figure out what it all meant last week on Tuesday.
Yeah, few surprises, few we expected, some interesting stuff. Let's start at the top of the list I have here, and that is the U.S. Senate on the GOP side. Lake versus Lamb. Lake winning, but taking about 55% of the vote to Lamb's 40.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was a third candidate who got, 6 or 7.
Yeah,
So-
it's the self-described, what was it, Rye? Her last name was
Yeah.
Rye, and she was a self-described Reagan Republican, which probably not great in today's GOP.
No. That's in today's GOP, I believe that's a way of saying you're a leftist. So yeah, Lake versus Lamb. I think the consensus here is, boy, Lamb got 200,000 votes.
Yeah, that was no drama in the ultimate outcome of that.
No.
I mean, Mark Lamb's very well known, very well respected in Pinell County, and I say all that before I say this, that he didn't have much money, and basically Kerry Lake ran against a cowboy hat in this race.
Yes.
And someone told me, I forget, she had predicted a much larger margin of victory.
Yes.
She's winning by 15, 16 points at this point, but the overall, when you look at, she only got 55% of the vote.
Yes.
That was where the drama was, and I
Yes.
thought the over/under going in would be 60%.
And I took the over.
Yeah, you took the over.
I was thinking it was closer to 70,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it was 55.
Yeah, and that's the issue, as our good friend Marcus DelArtino said on the TV show. That's a big deal for fundraising, because the people who control the purse, the money back in D.C., people like Mitch McConnell, are going to look at that race. They're going to look at the results there and say, look, you ran a campaign against an underfunded candidate and you only pulled out 55% of the vote.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be that enthusiastic to invest in your race when there are other ways on the electoral map, the Senate map, that we can get control of the you maintain control of the upper chamber, or get control of the upper chamber, without getting Arizona. I can spend, Mitch McConnell might be thinking, Republicans there may be thinking, we can spend our money better if in other races and wrest control of the Senate from the Democrats.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, again, people generally know who Lamb is, and I think he's relatively popular, certainly among Republicans. But, I mean, we were making jokes about needing a proof of life video during his campaign.
Early on, we were,
There
yes.
seemed to be no campaign going on at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're in Lake's camp, that has to be jarring.
Oh, and they're
spinning.
spinning hard. It's what you do in a campaign, and they'll say, like, look, 15, 16-point victory is a solid victory, and it is.
Yeah.
But in politics, there's also the expectation game.
Yes.
And she has all the name ID. She's got the money. She didn't spend a lot of money to her credit in this race, but she's also got the coveted Trump endorsement.
Yeah.
And had that early on in that in this primary, and that's just not a good performance for her.
No. 55% in the primary is not great.
And what do you think of what you saw of her speech primary night?
I mean, it's the same.
right?
It's always the same.
Yeah.
It's always the same.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know where she's going to gain any support. Certainly there will be Republicans who voted for Lamb who would vote for Lake in a general. I have no doubt that's a huge
Oh,
chunk
they're
of
going to
that.
come back. Most of them will come back. Yeah.
But I mean, I think she's facing a tougher opponent than she was for governor, and she lost for governor. I think the consensus would be Ruben Gallego is a tougher opponent than
100%.
Katie Hobbs. She lost that race. I think a lot of people have grown very tired of her in that time since then. I don't know where she's gaining support at this stage.
Yeah, it's the same shtick over and over and over again. Like for example, I'm a fan of the Rolling Stones, right? But how excited am I going to be to see them play Satisfaction or Wild Horses for the 100th time?
Oh,
like you're just replaying the hits all the time. But it was interesting. On election night, she framed the battle there as good versus evil. And it was an interesting comment from Gallego afterwards, where he basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, says, well, that's unfortunate. Like, we have differences on politics and policy and whatnot. And if we do, I don't think of people I disagree with as evil. Yeah. And that's unfortunate for her to look at this that way. So there you go. I thought that was a really interesting dynamic about this race heading into this general election.
Yeah. All right. House seat CD1 on the Democrats. Shaw, Golan Woods, Horn, O'Callaghan, Cherney all seem to have a shot at it going in. It was Shaw who wins.
Yeah, pure work ethic on Shaw's part. This was not a guy that was up on doing TV ads. We knew heading into this he was a walker. He was a guy that knocked on doors, like real old school shoe leather, whatever they material they make running shoes out of now, like old school nylon on the pavement or whatever the hell. He told me he went through 5 or 6 pairs of shoes in this campaign. He just knocked on doors, contacted people, talked to them, and from what I understand, would stay at the doorstep for as long as they wanted or as short as they wanted. But and at the end of the day, I think he avoided a lot of the negative campaigning that happened at the end of that race.
Yeah,
everybody was going after Woods. Wood was taking shots at other people, and I think maybe Shaw kind of escaped some of that and just kept knocking on people's door. Now, what's interesting about this is, he's going to move on and face David Schweikert in Arizona's 1st congressional district, the fighting first, as we like to say here at Politics Unplugged, right?
Sure.
The fighting first, right? We like to say that.
You like to say it, so we'll go with it.
I like the sound of it, and so. This is one of those races where the DCCC, it's one of the targeted races for them nationally. It's Arizona CD1, Arizona CD6. So, Shaw is going to go from relatively unfunded or underfunded, just knocking on doors, walking a lot, to all of a sudden seeing as much money as he wants in a race like this. Yeah. It is going to be extremely interesting, as Republicans are telling me that Mr. Schweikert, don't rest on your laurels. Don't take this guy lightly. He's going to work, and he's going to work hard in this. Yeah. So what happens with that, I don't know. I'm just so hesitant. I've seen it over and over and over again. Democrats are high on the fact that, we could take out David Schweikert this year.
This is always the seat that's on the bubble.
And it just
the
doesn't
bubble never
happen.
Bursts.
And it just doesn't happen. That's the toughest goddamn bubble. Bubbles are made for
bubble.
Bubbles are made for bursting, and that bubble won't burst.
It's a resilient little bubble. I mean, I saw so many TV ads for some of his opponents. Didn't see Shaw ads, but I saw a hell of a lot of yard signs.
No, and it goes to show you, campaigning matters a lot. And, these congressional races, what some people tend to forget is they're a lot more like a council race, a local council race.
Yeah.
And, you go out there and you make contact with folks and you talk to them.
Yeah.
They're probably going to back you up, man. And that's important with voters. They want to feel like they know you.
And when you see the numbers coming in, you start to realize these aren't that many votes. The districts,
No.
you're not looking at that many voters.
No.
So maybe, getting out on the streets and making
What does he
contact
get?
with
What did he
people.
get? What's the latest? Like 25% of the vote,
Something like that, yeah.
and he's kind of walking away with it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's going to be interesting is this dynamic, right, moving forward. Like in the primary, Shaw, the main criticism on Shaw was he wasn't a true Democrat. He's a Republican. He's a Republican in Democratic clothing, right? That's going to help him, I think, in the general election.
Yes. That might be a problem in the primary. It's not a problem in the general.
It's not going to be a problem in the general. And can Schweiker fend off another challenger in a year where it looks like voters are not happy with status quo stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we saw some incumbents going down. So yeah.
A lot.
He's done it before.
A lot of incumbents go down.
Yeah.
That was one of the surprises, I think, of Tuesday night.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the other Democratic race, District 3.
Oh, boy.
Yasmin Ansari and Raquel Turan.
This is another reason why, like, Politics Unplugged would love to have a policy that nothing happens after Friday.
Yes.
After Friday afternoon, I should say.
Yeah. This looked like an Ansari win on election night.
Sure did.
And it's looking more tenuous as we record this.
Yeah, Friday we record this. It's as of it was 497 votes that separated the two candidates in this race. That went extremely negative at the end.
Yeah, it got weird at the very end.
Yeah, and heading into the year, my thought was Raquel Turan is a long history in the district. As an activist. She served that district as a state lawmaker. She served in the position as chairwoman of the party. I thought she had all the upside going into this race. That Yasmin Ansari was sure she was a councilwoman, but she was younger, maybe not as well known, didn't have the deeper roots in that district that Raquel had. But heading into election night, from what I'd heard, I thought Ansari may have the edge going into this. But who knows right now? 497 votes. It's hard to estimate how many votes will be, as of Friday, are left to count in that district. We can get countywide how many votes are left to count, but it's hard to get it just in that district. Start estimating that. So,
and that's a decent chunk to make up. It's not going to be
at
easy
this point,
to make that up, but it looks possible.
Yeah, and I know her team thinks she's in it, and there might be a chance at that. So next week. We'll see. Hopefully, we'll have the answers there on that one. But that was a very hotly contested. And again, that race is likely, whoever wins that is likely going to move on and easily win that general election.
Yes. The negative campaigning at the end was weird because they're two very, very similar, very progressive candidates, and the last week turned into "You're MAGA." No, you're more MAGA.
It was, well, I mean, and again, I've said this before, I'll say it again, like these primaries get nasty like that because there's not a lot of big difference on policy. They're all, they're all Democrats in this race. There are two Democrats in this race, two progressive Democrats in this race. I know Dwayne Wooten also won in that. Dr. Wooten is well known in that district. He got 11%. I'm wondering when the analysis, when the postmortem is done on this race, like who he took votes away from. But anyway, you get really nasty because there's not a lot of difference on policy, so you just start going negative. And what was funny to me was like seeing it. There was an ad there that somebody took money from Stan Barnes, he's
turning Stan Barnes into Steve Bannon or something.
I was like, huh?
Yeah. I mean, interesting tactic.
Yeah.
All right. GOP side, District 8. Kern, Toma, Hamadeh, Franks, Masters. Had no idea what was going to happen on this one going in. If I were betting going in, I would have guessed Masters. It was not. It was Abe Hamadeh.
Yeah, right. I mean, what's the lesson to learn from that? That Trump endorsed two of those people in that race.
I think the lesson is it's better to get the Trump endorsement early than late.
Yeah, early and late. And getting indicted for trying to overturn an election, not good.
Didn't help Kern.
Did not help Kern. But then on the flip side, being the Republican House Speaker of the State House. didn't help Ben Toma at all.
Along with a couple key endorsements. He didn't get the Trump endorsement, but he had Brewer, and he had Lesko.
Yeah.
Who was, that was her seat, and she was very popular there.
Yeah. Not as popular as the Donald.
No, clearly not. I'm curious to see what Masters does now, because you lost in the Senate, now you lost in the House.
You're a two-time loser.
Might be time to get a job.
Yeah, well, yeah, find something else to do.
Yeah. You can go back to Tucson now, at least.
Well, I'm happy for him that he doesn't have to at least pretend to live in the district now.
Yes.
I wonder if Abe will move into the district.
Maybe
he already has. Abe doesn't return my phone calls. I don't know if you know this.
No.
Not big on that, but yeah, it looks like he's gonna win that race and win that seat.
All right, recorder's race.
Boy, that was the headline of the night.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the shocker of the night. What do you think?
It was not a shocker.
No.
I mean, I think we both thought Stephen Richer had a solid chance with Heap and Hyatt presumably splitting some votes, which they did, but they didn't split enough for Richer to sneak through.
No, Hyatt didn't split the vote enough. I mean, with his vote total.
So Justin Heap wins. I mean, I've seen a number of Republicans expressing concern over that, let alone Democrats. So
yeah. There's a Democrat named Timothy Stringham is going to become very well known almost overnight.
Yes.
He is the Democratic candidate for recorder. Justin Heap has been somebody who has been at best or at worst very sympathetic to the election denial crew.
Yes.
Supported the legislation that has been election conspiracy inspired. He's been careful to just outwardly say that he thinks that the elections were rigged. However, if you look at the bills he has supported and some of the actions he's taken, it doesn't take a Mensa member to figure out where he's going to be on the election integrity. Let's call it the election integrity scale.
Yes. That's I think people find that concerning. And Richer at this point famously told you during this race that he would be voting for Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And we've brought this up before. I hate to ever criticize a politician for giving an honest answer on something. That was probably not the wisest move at that point, to give an honest answer.
Yeah.
He had other options.
Yeah.
He could have said, it's my business.
Yeah, I mean,
again, tip my hat for the honest answer. We always appreciate that. It probably did not serve him well in this spot.
No, and that's the other thing is people want authenticity and honesty, but man, when people are honest, they get punished for it a lot of times.
Yeah.
But on the one side, I think his thinking was there was no way he could say he was going to support Trump. He wasn't.
Right.
He wasn't going to be a Ted Cruz.
No.
He wasn't going to be like Ted Cruz, who Trump said his father killed JFK,
and his wife was ugly.
And his wife was ugly, and then come back and then support the man.
Yeah.
Like Richer wasn't going out like that.
No, Richard's been getting death threats from Trump supporters.
Yeah.
He's not going to. He's not going to pretend to support Trump.
So it'll be interesting to see, given Richard's positions on things, does Richer end up endorsing Stringham in this, or does he just?
Oh, I would bet he does.
Or does he just sit it out and say, "Look, I've got one last election to oversee. I'm not going to taint this."
Yeah, he certainly. Yeah, I can certainly see that too. And I've heard people asking, so does he come back and run as a Democrat at some point? And he's not a Democrat.
He's not. I mean,
he's absolutely not a Democrat.
I mean, Jesus. I mean, come on, people. I know there's a lot of Democrats who like his integrity.
Yes.
But he does not see the world like you.
No, he is absolutely a dyed-in-the-wool, old school conservative Republican.
Yes.
And so no, I don't see that happening. My guess is
no.
If I'm him, I'm looking.
I mean, could you see Richer running for some office to expand public benefits?
No.
That's not going to happen.
No. All right. And then lastly, the sheriff's race.
Oh, boy.
I thought this was going to be pretty clear cut on both sides, and it was, but I had the wrong guy winning on both sides. The GOP nominee will be Jerry Sheridan,
The Jer Bear.
and the Democratic nominee will be Tyler Camp. I would have guessed we're going into a Frank Milstead, Russ Skinner fight here.
Yeah.
And they both lost, and it was not particularly close.
No, not at all. I think Democrats were really upset with Skinner switching party registration shortly before getting that appointment. I mean,
Yeah.
Camp was also a
He
Republican.
did the same thing. He just did it a little less, obviously, I guess.
Not as much noise, not as much attention on that.
Yeah.
He's carrying baggage into this. We ran a story that kind of covered some of that. He was accused of harassing a woman,
Yeah.
sending her, text messages and whatnot.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for us, the phone he sent them from was lost in Africa.
He lost it in Africa, yes.
And
I mean,
people listening or
maybe
watching
he
right now,
lost-
we're not being sarcastic.
He lost the phone in Africa.
He lost his phone in Africa.
She goes to a different school. You wouldn't know her. It's the variation on that. Look, maybe he lost the phone in Africa. I don't know.
It's
But that's a
possible.
hell of an excuse.
People lose phones in Africa, dude.
I'm sure they do. The Serengeti's lined with old phones. Tom Brady should have gone that route instead of battering the phone with all the texts about the Inflategate. He should have just stopped by Congo, taken care of it that way.
I lost my phone in the snows of Kilimanjaro.
Yes. Yeah. So we got that right.
Yeah.
We got that, and then on the flip side, you've got Jerry Sheridan, who
Wants to bring back Tent City.
wants to bring back Tent City. I mean, he was Arpaio's right hand man. I don't think that plays well now. Certainly the results of the Fountain Hills mayor's race would suggest that perhaps the sheriff's popularity has waned over the years.
Oh yeah. And, by the way, people who want some deep analysis on that the Fountain Hills mayoral race, we'll be doing an emergency podcast on that Sunday, right?
Sure. Yeah, whatever.
We'll go deep on what Arpaio could have done. But
Has he claimed this one was rigged? Because I think he did last time.
I don't know, man.
He got, and if people haven't seen, I believe he got 10% of the vote, roughly,
yeah, maybe
of this. Yeah.
he got double digits.
Yeah.
Good for
In
you,
a
Joe.
3-person race, he got about 10% of the vote. What are you going to do there? So, yeah, Sheridan, the chief deputy for Arpaio, more often referred to as his henchman than his chief deputy. He was chief deputy for Arpaio. I don't know that people are clamoring to go back to the Arpaio years. It was a bit of a black mark for the state and cost us about $300 million plus.
I mean, what do you think
And
the federal
oversight.
overseer is going to think if the voters send Jerry Sheridan back there?
Yeah. Who, by the way, did not get Arpaio's endorsement.
No, Milstead did.
Milstead did.
Can we talk about Milstead's problems?
There were a few.
Slightly flawed candidate.
Yeah. Don't pull the "Don't you know who I am" on a traffic stop when the guy's wearing a traffic cam. You're gonna look like a jackass.
No, and you learn how to break up with women so they don't have restraining orders
Yeah.
against you.
Yeah.
That was an interesting moment when we interviewed him here on Politics Unplugged on the TV show.
Yeah.
He said it was just unfortunate. It was a bad breakup, and I think I was like, well, we've all had bad breakups, but they don't end with restraining orders.
No,
what
they
happened?
Don't. Most do not end in restraining orders.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, from this point forward in that race, man, I have no idea. I would have guessed it would have been Milstead versus Skinner, and maybe Skinner winning narrowly in the general.
Yeah.
Sheridan Camp got me. I have no clue. Any other races you want to look at?
Wow. There's a few races. I think if we want to talk about it in general or specifically, is I don't have the list in front of me. It was the county supervisor's race on the on the county level. You had Jack Sellers down in the East Valley getting beat by, was it Matt Stewart?
Yeah, this is more your thing than mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yes, Sellers and Stewart. I
feel like you're making fun of me or calling me a nerd or something like that.
A little bit. No, there's probably nothing to be gained on a politics podcast to accuse the other person of being a nerd. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
Stewart and Sellers. And you had Galvin versus Ugenti Rita.
Oh boy, yeah, that was an interesting one. I mean, Galvin was one of the incumbents who was able to pull it out, you know, and go.
And the last one left, I think, right? Well, and Gallardo.
Yeah.
Who
I mean, think about the change from 2020, right? I mean, the Republican voters has just been punishing that board for standing up to election conspiracies.
Yeah.
The only guy left from 2020 is Steve Gallardo.
Yeah. The Democrat.
The lone Democrat.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing what's happened down there. I mean, Galvin wasn't on the board in 2020, and he was appointed in 2022 after Steve Chukri left.
Yeah.
But, like, look, Bill Gates stepping down.
Yeah.
Hickman taking a hard pass on running for another term on this.
Yeah.
You know, gone. It has opened up some possibility. Now, Jack Sellers, gone. It has opened up possibilities in those races because I believe Jack Sellers is going to face, or Matt Stewart is going to face a former Tempe councilman named Joel Navarro. Joel Navarro, again, he's well known in the area, and he's a firefighter, and you can't overstate the importance of firefighters in these local races when they get behind you, because man, those firefighters love putting on those T-shirts and go knocking on doors and working for you, and they work hard for you, man, and then they go barbecue with the boys afterwards and have a good old time and make a day of it. Joel's really well known in the district. So there's a pickup opportunity for Democrats there. In Central Phoenix, there is a race now with Kate Brophy McGee, former state lawmaker, a moderate state lawmaker. That's important to note. There's going to be running against former Phoenix City Councilman Danny Valenzuela. That's going to be a hard-fought race.
Yeah.
And if Democrats have any hopes of taking control of the county board, that's the race that could determine the whole thing. So there are some opportunities there to flip that board for the first time in decades into Democrat control.
All right, now we've gone through your little county seats.
It's significant, Colin.
It is. It's just a little farther in the weeds than I tend to go.
Yeah, well, there.
The weeds. That's your place. Do we want to go into the running mate discussion?
Oh, the Veep Stakes.
The Veep Stakes,
The
which,
Veep Stakes.
As is our style, we were discussing this on a Friday, where it might very well be obsolete by the time this drops on Sunday.
Yeah. Let's make predictions, and hopefully they turn out better than the Suns' predictions.
Yeah.
Which we're not letting ourselves off the hook.
No, we were generally eventually sort of right on most of that.
We hold ourselves accountable.
Yes, we do.
Here on Politics, and we did not do well on those picks.
No, we didn't. So our predictions, take them for what they're worth, which is probably not much.
Yeah.
And I have been waffling on this day after day. I keep changing my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I had actually at one point yesterday talked myself into Andy Bashir being the likely candidate.
Oh, good Lord.
Which, and who knows? Maybe he will be. Labor likes him. I think they'd probably like to have someone on the ticket with a Southern accent.
Yeah. Can you feel you can just feel the groundswell for Andy Bashir.
It does not feel like something that would be terribly exciting to most.
No. No.
So who do you, if you have to pick right now, who do you think it is?
Oh boy. I'm nothing controversial. No hot takes coming from me, man. It's got to be Shapiro from Pennsylvania.
I'm leaning towards Shapiro from Pennsylvania.
He's popular, and look, we have no inside information. It's just from what I've read.
Zero.
What I've read in whatnot. I mean, there is no White House for Democrats. There's no path to the White House for Democrats, basically, if you don't get Pennsylvania.
It becomes
It becomes almost impossible for them. Very, very difficult. Can Shapiro, who appears in the polls to be very popular in that state, the Keystone State, right?
The Keystone State.
The
yeah.
Keystone State.
Yeah.
Very popular in the Keystone State.
Yeah.
Give them a bounce there so they can win that. And I think maybe, I don't really ascribe to that whole VP pick helping you in a certain area.
No, I think it certainly won't hurt to have a popular Pennsylvania governor in Pennsylvania. I don't know how much of a difference it makes, but it doesn't hurt you. I would say he's my first pick. The one thing that makes me hesitate about that is there are a few spots where people will, even Democrats will look at it and go, yeah, I don't know. He's pro-voucher, which is not a widely held view among Democrats. And he's been criticized for his views on Israel and Palestine.
Yeah, he brings that back. He brings that baggage back, and this was an opportunity for Harris to really distance herself from that intra-party fight that's going on with Democrats there.
And I'm not sure his views on it are that controversial.
No,
but it brings it up, and the others have not had that.
He's a Jewish man who supports Israel.
He is, and at the same time, I believe it supports a two-party, a two-state system there, and does not support Netanyahu. So it's not like it's a strident.
No, not at all.
But it brings it into the discussion. If it's not him, I think at this point, Tim Walz from Minnesota, who doesn't. I mean, if they're going to lose Minnesota, they're probably not doing all that well in general.
Tim, he's interesting because as I was saying earlier to you, he looks like the Dwight Eisenhower of Gerald Ford's.
Yes, he does.
Then he opens his mouth. You're like, wow, this guy is fire, man.
If they want an attack dog in that second spot, he's a great one.
Yeah,
he's been terrific for the Democrats in going after the other side.
Yeah.
There's nothing preventing him from doing that if he's not on the ticket. So they may go in another direction that they deem more helpful, and he can still be out there going after Vance and Trump. And I at this point, I would think Kelly's probably third. I don't sense a great momentum there, although I'm not sure why, because it's not like we're getting that many outward signs.
No, this is all being handled very in like the inner circle of the inner circle of Harris right now.
Yeah, we're reading tea leaves that don't really exist.
Yeah, exactly. Well, judging by the tea leaves that don't exist on this table, I'm thinking, and it's basically what we're basing it on. It's just other reporting.
Yes,
and the reporting, it just seems to shift. It goes back and forth. And yesterday, like on Thursday, there was all this reporting about Shapiro canceling all his big money fundraisers.
Yeah.
And then on Friday morning, we learned, Harris is going to be interviewing her VP potentials, and he's probably doing this to make himself available.
Yes, and Bashir canceled his.
Yeah.
I think Walz canceled his. I think everyone canceled and cleared it up. One thing that would maybe point towards Shapiro is when she does her tour of swing states with the VP, the very first stop is in Philly. So I think everyone went, oh, it's Shapiro. And whoever reported that also said they are told, don't read anything into the fact that the first one's in Pennsylvania.
Because it might be Shapiro, but where else are you going to start this damn tour?
I mean, if you're going to go east to west, it would probably start in Philly.
Yeah. And you
probably... So it makes all kinds of sense to start in Philly.
Should go east to west, for fuck's sake, so don't read too much into that. But, I don't know. There's an old saying in Arizona that you can tell your kids they can grow up to be anything they want except president of the United States.
Yeah,
it's eluded Arizona, but I also think that maybe that applies to the VP slot too.
Maybe
I don't think Kelly's as dynamic as a speaker as
that's the thing
attack dog as the other ones. But man, the guy's got a hell of a resume, and he brings Gabby Giffords, who's just beloved across the country.
Yes.
She's part of the campaign. His resume is great. He's a border state guy, middle of the road. Pretty sure the guy probably voted Republican back in the day. I have no inside information on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But wouldn't be surprised. I see a lot of benefits for him too. So you can make the case for and against all these candidates.
Yeah, he certainly on paper he is an amazing candidate for it. Yes, I think he's probably hurt a little in that he's a little less dynamic as a speaker, as a presence, than say like Walz is.
Yeah.
For whatever that's worth, you can't argue with a resume, and it's not like he would not do a solid job in a debate or something. So that's not much of a worry. But yeah, who knows?
Well,
Well, I'm sure we'll find out shortly before this drops, and this last 10 minutes will be a waste of time. But
yeah,
we
let's
sort
hope,
of specialize in that.
Yeah, let's hope it just they announce it right after we wrap up here.
Yes. Yeah.
No, man. Anything else you want to chat about, man? I think we hit all the main things here.
No,
unless you want to go deep on Trump's recent interview with black journalists recently, which yeah, let's.
No, that was. It's hard to be astonished
Yeah.
at this point,
Yeah.
and yet still there were moments where
I don't know what.
what are you doing, man?
Yeah. Yeah. I was truly kind of, and still am kind of speechless about what happened on that stage.
Yeah,
If you haven't seen it, it's easy to read about and whatnot.
Yeah.
And just absolutely amazing. I'm like, what votes is he winning with this line of attack?
I don't know how they decided that the new line of attack, and I'm giving. When I say how they decided this would be it, no one decided this would be it. He just spouted off, and now that becomes the line of attack, attacking Harris for being biracial. And he and like J.D. Vance joined in, sort of joking about it. And come on, man, you've got 2 biracial kids, 3 biracial kids. His children are biracial.
Yeah.
Maybe don't make the biracial jokes.
It just was sad.
Yeah. Don't act like it's a
there's a
reasonable
lot of-
line of attack.
There's a lot of biracial couples in this country and have biracial kids. And it just,
Some of them on his ticket.
it's right there on his ticket, man. Again, I just speechless.
Yeah.
But here we are.
All right.
Here we are.
Go back to my team handball now and water polo and
God.
back to the
That's
Olympics.
the one thing. You do really enjoy the Olympics a lot more than I do.
I do. It's one of those things where I don't look forward to it per se.
Uh-huh.
But then when it's on, God bless NBC for giving us multiple channels,
Yeah.
because I find their main coverage loathsome. That the evening stuff, where it's it's like a 2-hour feature on the U.S. gymnastics team with a lot of flag waving and shots of Natalie Portman, and I can't stand that coverage. But you give me, France versus Slovenia in team handball, and I am there.
Yeah.
I've
Or
watched
water-
hours of team handball
Yeah.
and water polo and 3-on-3 basketball, which we're suspiciously terrible at.
Yeah, I'm more into. I'll check out some track and field over the weekend. I dig the track and field.
Yeah.
I still love the 100-yard dash.
Yeah.
And the 4x100 relay stuff.
Yeah, I'll be watching the track.
Yeah, but by and large, I don't go out of my way to watch it. By the way, I want to know who the fuck is who would be into Olympic golf.
Yeah, that's a weird one, man. I don't
It
know.
just-
It doesn't seem to fit at all.
No.
I don't get it.
At all.
Yeah.
Just no, I don't
Yeah.
get it.
And it's funny seeing the sports where, you get things like gymnastics and you're just astonished at how, the stuff Simone Biles can do on a tumbling run and in the air is mind-bending. And then you watch badminton and it's shit, I could do that. That looks like you're just watching somebody's cookout. And I realize
No, ping pong is
that too.
ping pong's
The
insane.
It's not as ridiculous to me as badminton, because badminton I can't tell the difference between 2 yahoos in a park playing and the top
Yeah.
people. And I will acknowledge, yes, I'm sure they're really good and they would embarrass me in a badminton match.
Oh, I'm sure.
But watching them, you would not get that impression.
How come there's not a lawn dart? Old school lawn dart with the metal
yeah,
tip.
I think those are just generally out of favor these days. You can bring them back.
They should have never been in favor.
No, yeah, the giant metal spear for kids. Doesn't seem like the best
family
plan.
fun, Colin. It was family
Yes, it
fun,
was
man.
family fun.
It was family fun.
Yeah, put the dog inside. Let's have some family fun.
All right. Yeah, and by and large, too, I don't go out of my way even to watch the Olympic basketball, the men's basketball team.
Oh, yeah, I will. That's
I know you
appointment
will.
viewing for me. Yeah.
I know you will, but no.
And I find the reaction to our Olympic basketball teams to be frustrating, and I don't think it always speaks well of us as a people, the way the Americans treat the American basketball teams.
No. Well, and it gets so stupid with the pros there. It's like so-and-so didn't get enough playing time. Like, well.
And we won by 26, and we have guys who are better at doing what he does than he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I don't know. They get blamed for a lot of things and accused of a lot of things and described in ways that I think they absolutely do not deserve, and sort of expose a lot of people for. If I hear one more comment about Caitlin Clark and the U.S. national team, I'm going to go nuts.
Yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole again.
No.
We've made our position very clear.
Yeah. If there is any group that is a case for American excellence in something that something to be admired, go look at the history of our women's national basketball team and how they do at these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect people are just chomping the bit for a chance to complain about them and knock that off. They're amazing, and they win gold every single year. It's a phenomenal team.
No.
Sorry if you didn't get the one girl you could name to watch.
Yeah,
they're really good.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say on that, the one criticism is like, well, it could have helped with the WNBA having her on this team with promotion. Like,
who gives a shit?
I don't care.
I don't care about the marketing. Their marketing seems to be doing okay. She seems to sort of have made a name for herself. I think they're okay
Caitlin's
there.
doing well. I think Caitlin's doing well. I think the WNBA
seems to be
doing
doing
a lot
fine
better
right now. I don't want to kick someone off the team who has earned a place there, so we can help market a professional.
I mean,
league.
and who would you kick off? I'm like Tarasi. I mean,
That's
she wants
the name
she,
they keep
she,
bring up.
She wants to. What
outta
is this?
here
Her
with that.
fifth gold?
Sixth. It'll be her
gold?
sixth.
She's been an institution,
Yeah.
a basketball institution. Let her go get her sixth gold. I mean, Caitlin Clark will have plenty of opportunities.
Yeah.
To go down, but we said we'd not go down that rabbit hole, and here
And then,
we are.
Yeah, we found the bottom of the rabbit hole.
Yeah, there
Yet
you
again.
go. All right. Well, that's what we do on Politics Unplugged. We go down rabbit holes, whether it's the WNBA or, in Colin's estimation, going down into the county supervisors.
No,
It's exciting stuff here.
it really is.
It's exciting stuff here, Colin.
Yes. If you're going to ask me to break down Stewart versus Sellers, I'm going to defer to you
It's Stewart,
every time.
Stewart v. Navarro.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. We'll end another crazy weekend, Arizona politics with that. Everybody have a great weekend.
Yeah, we'll see you next weekend.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the Google Store, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. See you next time.